Welcome back to another video, guys. I am on my own today. Cody's left me. She's gone back home to see the family. So I think like the distance from between where I live and I'm tired, guys. I just run up the stairs to make a drink. So the difference between like me and Cody, like where our families are, is like the equivalent of driving from, say, like Makati to Subic ish. So it's quite a long distance between. So today's video, I know we was gonna do the advert. I'm still intending to do the advert, but it will be on the next video, I think. We got requested about 1 month ago or so, maybe even longer than that, to do a review type video on Philly in the Philippines. The video was skin tax, about the skin tax in the Philippines. So that has been long overdue. So we are going to jump straight into that now. I think we done a video on Philly in the Philippines before, and there was a few comments in the comment section where basically they was like Philly supporters, I guess, or watchers, and they thought we was bashing Philly basically, and they left some bashing comments in our video of it. So just so everyone's aware, if you do watch Philly, we're not bashing him or anything like that. It's just our take on what he says, because obviously he lives there as well. I think he actually lives there full time, and I think he lives in like Angeles or something. So I don't know anything about like his experiences of different places. I don't know anything like that. It's just going to be our take on our experiences, and I think we've been to like 30 or so provinces, so every province has been different regarding like the skin tax. Some places have been better than others, like, or less extreme than others, if you like. So yeah, we'll be going through that video right now. Let's jump straight in.
What's up, everyone? I hope everyone is doing well out there. Before I begin this video, I just want to say that I'm not making this video, and my intent to make this video is not, my intention is not to disrespect, belittle the people of the Philippines, the culture of the Philippines. I'm just making this video, put it out there to people, so they're aware of the topic of this video and what to expect.
That beginning of his video was very needed, because like I said a minute ago, some Filipinos can get very defensive and think that you're bashing the country, when I suppose some things could maybe be taken that way. Majority of Filipinos, they understand, like you guys understand, that it's just his opinion and stuff like that. So I guess he probably gets a little bit of abuse in the comments as well. Not much, but it's gonna happen. So he's just letting everyone know that he's not bashing the country. Obviously he lives there, so yeah, it's just to try and lessen the certain bad comments, I think, guys.
If they decide to come to the Philippines, visit the Philippines, or even retire in the Philippines. So please don't take it the wrong way. Topic of the video is called the Philippine Skin Tax. What is it and how to deal with it as a foreigner? I always say there's four expats, or four foreigners that will come to the Philippines. First foreigner that's coming, they're coming here on vacation. They've saved their money up. Maybe they're coming here with their wife. They're returning back to spend a couple weeks here hanging out with their family, or a guy who's coming here for the first time. He saved his money. He's coming here whether to meet a girl or just come here on vacation and check the Philippines out. Those people, they have no problem spending money. Like, they have saved. They don't mind overpaying for things. They just don't mind. They've save that money. They're here to have a good time, and they're gonna have a good time no matter what it costs. Then you have the expat. I would call him like a well-to-do expat, a foreigner who has decided to come here, live here. They've got plenty of money. They might know they're being overcharged for something, but they just don't care. They don't care because they got so much money, it just doesn't bother them. And then you have, I guess, the middle class expat or foreigner that comes here and is living here. They got money, they can live here. They can live a comfortable life here. They can enjoy life here. They can travel here. But they watch how they spend their money. You know, they don't mind paying a little extra for certain things. Other things, they're just, now they know what it should be and they're not going to pay it. And then you've got the broke expat. The expat that has come here and, you know, he can live here, but he is watching every single peso that he is spending here. Those I would say would be, I would look at it as like the 4 types of expats here.
So I mean, for us, we're probably nearer to the broke expat, I guess. In between the broke expat and the one before that. So for us, it's money for us is like not a problem, but it's like we have to be sensible basically. If we get overcharged on every single thing that we do, we'll have to go home earlier. So we try and not necessarily like, we try not to get everything for cheap, if like, but we try and pay like fairly close to the going rate, if you like. Like, obviously we know we're gonna get overcharged a little bit, but we don't want it to be like crazy overcharged. Like, say a tricycle would cost you guys, I don't know, let's say it's 50 peso for example. We'd be looking to pay like 80 peso, like, you know, I mean even 100's not too bad, but no more than that. We ain't the sort of expat that can afford to pay like 200 peso for a 50 peso journey, because we get tricycles like often, like 2-3 times, maybe 4 times a day. So to keep our expenses down, we have to kind of be conscious to get a good price on things. So
what I say, and it's a known word here, the skin tax. It boils down to a foreigner paying extra for a product or a service based solely upon his skin. That's what it is. It's a skin tax. Where are you going to see this? Like, where are you going to see this? First of all, it depends on where you live. If you live out in the province and you're out in the middle of no.
So just to jump in there, guys, a perfect example of what Philly just said, which is it's down to the place that you live. So when we first come to the Philippines, we had so much problems with the whole skin tax thing, just being overcharged like for everything. And then we arrived in Iloilo for the very first time. Now, when we arrived in Iloilo, this was our very first experience of not paying a skin tax. And that is what led to us buying a condo in Iloilo City. From the not solely that reason, but that was a big factor in it as well. So, like I said in the beginning of the video, some places will be worse than others for the skin tax. For example, we went, in the first year that we came, we went to, what's the island called? Siquijor. And we arrived off the boat at Siquijor at like 12 at night or 1 a.m. and there was only a few tricycles left. And the tricycle drivers basically refused to take us to our hotel or room unless we paid, I think it was like 500 peso or something outrageous like that. I think the drive was like maybe 20-minute drive, maybe 25 minutes, 500 peso. So obviously we wasn't too happy about that. So we was stood there for like an hour, maybe an hour and a half. And they're obviously all working together, the tricycle drivers. So they just refused to basically take us for anything less than that. So I think I don't know what happened there. I can't really remember how it happened, but we ended up paying the 500, but we was not happy. And if we was a local, it would have been completely different. But skin tax, so it does depend on not just where you live, although that is the main one, but also the time of day or night. Because if the tricycle drivers, for example, know that there's only a small amount of tricycle drivers working because it's late, then they're gonna take advantage of that. So
nowhere and you're like the only foreigner around for kilometers and kilometers and kilometers, you more than likely are not going to pay extra for anything. You're going to pay what the locals pay. I know that for a fact. When we first moved here, we were out in the province, and I could walk through the market with Lut, and they weren't going to charge me extra for anything. I guess it's just not in them. You know, it's not in them. Now, if you live in a populated area where you have a lot of foreigners, say Manila, Makati, Quezon City, Cebu City, areas around Cebu City, say in Dumaguete, say up here in Angeles, Baguio City, Siargao, or not Siargao, Subic Bay, where you've got a lot of foreigners living, you will tend to get that skin tax. Why? Why do you get charged the skin tax? A lot, not all.
I would say that there are places that you won't get skin taxed. I agree 100%. But also, the places that ain't got a lot of foreigners, chances are you will probably still get skin taxed, but it will not be very noticeable to you. So for example, when we went to Enchanted River in Mindanao, I think it was in, something's telling me Bislig. I think it's Bislig. So not many foreigners go down that far. They'll see a few, but very few foreigners, right? So when we got off the boat, literally, it was so funny. Literally, we had an army of tricycle drivers running straight over to us, saying, "Oh, we'll give you a lift to your hotel," and it was all like arguing with each other. Not arguing, but they was all like trying to get the service from us, right? So I think we got charged something like, we might have paid him like 100 peso. And it wasn't far. It was, maybe it would have cost a local, like, because we had our bags as well, so maybe it would have cost a local like 50, something like that. So they maybe 50 to 80, something like that. So they put a very small skin tax on, but it's not very noticeable, because even now, if I was to go back to Bislig, and let's say I know the price should be 50 or 60 peso, and we paid like 100, I'm not gonna moan, because it's not gonna, like, if that 40 or 50 peso extra helps them out a lot with their families and stuff, then although you might find a few foreigners that might be like, no, the price is 50, I want to pay 50 and that's it. You might see a few foreigners like that. But for us, we don't mind paying a little bit over the odds if it's reasonable, basically. So we did get skin taxed that day in Bislig, but it was very, very small, and in my opinion, not worth, or not even remotely worth arguing it or haggling it or complaining about it. We was more than happy to pay the 100, basically, guys. So you might still be skin taxed even in areas where you might think you're not, but it might be a very small thing. Normally, I would say the tricycles and like hubbles, they will be where you get skin taxed probably the most. When you go into markets and stuff, generally I would say it's a bit more unlikely to be skin taxed, but I wouldn't say it wouldn't happen. But generally, if you go into a market and you see someone else buying the same like fruit or food or whatever, you see what they pay, and you can generally tell. But it should never. You won't get skin taxed a lot. It'll be very unnoticeable.
Filipinos look at foreigners as having money. They look at you as having money. You're in my country. That means you can afford to be here. That means you must have money. Here's the thing, guys. I have seen a lot more Filipinos here with a lot more money than foreigners.
True.
Perfect example. We went shopping today, S&R. You know, my bill totaled like 9 to 10,000 pesos. Enough food for what we needed for the month from S&R. I'm standing next to a Filipino and I see a couple of them. Their shopping carts are loaded. They're walking out with 40, 50,000 peso bills. So not all foreigners have money. Not all of us do. Here's where you will see it mostly. There's so many different areas and things that you will see. But the big one is like at a market. If you go to a public market, you will, like I said, if you go to a public market in an area where there's a lot of foreigners, you will be charged. You guys have, if you watch my videos, you'll see sometimes I'll go down and I'll ask, Macano, how much for a kilo of bananas? I might get 50 at one. Go to the next one. I might get 60 at one. Might go back down to 50 at one. Might go up to 100 at one. You can see it. You can see it at markets. The best thing to do, if you can, and you have a wife or a girlfriend, let them go out and do the shopping at the markets. They will get the going price.
So we do this with Kai. So if you guys have been watching us for a while, when we go Philippines, we'll go and do travel days with our friend Kai, and he's like been the best guide for us ever. He's helped us out so many times and took us to places that we didn't even know about, and recommended places and stuff like that. So when we're with Kai, if we need to get like tricycles or buy anything, food or anything, we normally send to Kai and say, Kai, Kuya, you've got to go and sort out the price, because we'll get ripped off basically. So even though I would say we're pretty experienced in the Philippines now. We've been coming like 5 years. So I'd say that we're pretty experienced, but even if we know the prices of things, we will still be skin taxed. So we have to let Kaya go and do the talking, guys, basically. And it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things. Kaya thinks it's funny. He laughs all the time, but things you got to do, guys.
But if you're anxious, or say you don't, have a girlfriend, or say you just want to go out and you want to purchase your own fruits, your own vegetables, or you want to go to the market and purchase your meats or your fish, what I have done and what I've done in the past is you might have 5 or 6 small little fruit stands in a row. Stand there, just observe, look, pretend like you're looking at things. Listen to the people. Listen to what the people are saying. If they'll point at something, bananas, or we're just going to go with bananas, and Macano, and the vendor will tell them, all right, 50. All right, 50. Go to the next vendor. Listen, all right, 50 there too. Listen to what they're telling the local people.
True.
Then you can go, okay, Macano, how much for bananas? They might say 60. Okay. Go to the next one. Ask them. They might say 50. Go to the next one. They might say 55. They might say 65. But the person that gives you the best rate, go to them. Go to them and continue to go to them. After a while, they will recognize that you are continually come back and come back and come back. talk to them, be friendly with them, joke with them, you know, don't argue with them. Don't be like, oh, you gave that to the Filipino for 50, why are you giving it to me for 60? Why? That's no good, you know, you should be. Don't argue with them. Don't argue with them, because then they will lose face and it will make them look bad. But get to know the vendor. If you get to know the vendor, they're going to give you the same price as everybody else. If you keep going back to them and they know, hey, this guy keeps coming back. But you got to understand one thing too, prices always go up and down, depends on the market. If you don't even want to deal with stuff like that, go to the grocery stores. Go to the grocery store at the mall. Everything is marked. You're not going to pay extra because you're a foreigner. Everything is marked. Everybody pays the same per kilo, per banana, or whatever else there is in there. It's marked. You're paying for it. That's just a perfect example. Like I said, don't argue with them. Just don't argue with them. If you got to pay extra, a couple pesos, you pay it. I mean, you pay it. It's five pesos maybe extra. And like I said, just keep going back to the same people and be friendly and get to know them. Another thing where you might pay a skin tax is rent. I've heard stories where a person will move into an apartment area and there's Filipinos all around them. They're all in the same type of apartment, same setup, same everything. They get talking to the Filipino. Well, how much do you pay for rent? Oh, we pay 8,000 pesos. It's just the same, 8,000 pesos. And we moved in like a week before you. And you're like, wait, I'm paying 10,000 or I'm paying 15,000. The best thing to do with something like that, once again, if you have a girlfriend or a wife, let them go and negotiate.
With that, I think it's a bit different in that sense, because it's like here, if you, let's say, let me give you an example, right? So let's say one of you guys want to get a job here and I want to get the same job. If I go for the interview and I say I'm willing to take 8,000 pesos per week or per month, and I agree to that, and you come up to the same job and you say I'll take 12,000 pesos. If I'm willing to accept the price, so in this instance, if I'm willing to accept paying 15,000, then I don't really see any way you can complain, because that happens here also. So if you are negotiating for like a job or a room or accommodation or whatever, if you agree to the price, then you agree to the price. If you're willing to pay it and you agree to it, that's it, deal struck. You can't then agree to something and then because someone else has agreed a better price, then complain about it. In my opinion, if you're not happy with the price, then you don't pay it and you don't move in anyway. So in that instance, I think it's okay to, if you're paying a bit more than somebody else, if you're willing to pay it, that's up to you. I mean, you haven't got to accept it. You can go and find somewhere else. So I think in this instance, it's okay. I don't really see a problem with that, to be honest.